Well, hello, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I'm going to do your February the 20th just for today in a meditation. I hope you're doing well today. Let's go ahead and get into the meditation. If you need to reach me, feel free to do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. The meditation is entitled Powerlessness and Personal Responsibility. Sounds interesting. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. Basic text, page 13. When we refuse to take responsibility for our lives, we give away all of our personal power. We need to remember that we are powerless over our addiction, not our personal behavior. Many of us have misused the concept of powerlessness to avoid making decisions or to hold on to things we had outgrown. We have claimed powerlessness over our own actions. We have blamed others for our circumstances rather than taking positive action to change those circumstances. If we continue to avoid responsibility by claiming that we are powerless, we set ourselves up for the same despair and misery we experienced in our active addiction. The potential for spending our recovery years feeling like victims is very real. Instead of living our lives by default, we can learn how to make responsible choices and take risks. We may make mistakes, but we can learn from these mistakes. A heightened awareness of ourselves and an increased willingness to accept personal responsibility gives us the freedom to change, to make choices, and to grow. Just for today, my feelings, actions, and choices are mine. I will accept responsibility for them. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. That's a very powerful meditation when we talk about powerlessness and personal responsibility, because I do believe that there's a knowing within each one of us that we defaulted or we copped out. We took the course of least resistance oftentimes just because we did not want to take responsibility for what we perceive would be the outcome. We projected into the future, and out of fear, we ended up paralyzing ourselves, meaning that we had a paralyzing fear that it stopped us from acting or doing or saying or being who and what we needed to do and say and be at the time. It was easier for us to do nothing than be responsible for the potential outcome, which would be good or bad. Not realizing that no one makes the right choice, the right decision 100% of the time perfectly. That making bad decisions is often a part of just being human. And you learn from that lesson, and then you regroup and you go at it again. But because of the disease of addiction, our disease enabled us to act out in this manner over and over and over. It's so easy to blame something else. It's so easy to have a scapegoat rather than saying, I was just afraid to even, I honestly tell you the truth, I didn't even know what to do. I was just so afraid of what the outcome could be. And I didn't want to be a part if things went wrong. I didn't want to be a part of that. So I didn't do anything. I let everyone else decide. I let the situation decide for me. I dropped the ball. Instead of saying that, we oftentimes will resort to saying, I did that when I was actively using. I was powerless over those drugs. Those drugs had me running, ripping and running. There was no possible way that I could be relied upon because I was too busy chasing the next one. We say that all the time. We use the disease of addiction as the reason why we failed to perform or do what we needed to do behaviorally. But when we get into recovery, we find out that we may not be responsible for our disease, but we are responsible for our behavior. We are responsible for any behavior that we may have acted out during our disease of addiction, actively using. We are responsible for that. And we try to get to the point where we understand what the exact nature of that was. Why did you tell your children that you were going to come and pick them up and take them to McDonald's and you didn't show? Why did you keep telling them that you were going to be there? Yeah, the disease kept you ripping and running, but you didn't have to lie. You told them what sounded good, what you felt was the right thing to say, knowing that you didn't have a means to even bring that about. There's amends that needs to be made for that. If they still allow you to be in their lives, there's some things that you need to right. And that is a responsible, recovering individual, not a person that uses the disease of addiction as the scapegoat for why they did or didn't do something. We're not powerless over our behavior anymore, right? All bets aren't off anymore. We don't have something in our system that is going to cause us to be foggy, not wake up when we need to. We don't have any of that anymore to rely upon as the reason for what we do or do not do. We're mature in recovery today, and we take ownership for what we do and do not do today. Today, that's what I will wish for you, is that you would know the full joy, the full benefits of recovery, the full fruitage of being clean and being a responsible person that is no longer powerless over their behavior. We're not powerless. We never actually were. We always had the right to choose to use or to not use. Even if we have to roll it back to the original time when we chose to pick up the drug, you were in a position of being able to decide at that point. And for many of us listening to this, we just chose wrong. And instead of owning up to it, it got easier and easier and easier to allow the act of using, the lifestyle, be the reason why we no longer did what we were supposed to be doing. That's not who we are today. And for that, I'm grateful. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you, and I will be talking to you tomorrow.